Welcome everybody back to another fantastic episode of the Three-Man Rush podcast. And we are three today. Obviously, Jared is not with us today. We are missing him, so can't wait for him to listen to this, but he will be back on our Friday show that we're going to be recording as well. But we are joined by another special guest with Adam Goldberg. What's going on, buddy?
How's it going, man? How you doing?
Oh, doing great. Thanks for joining us. I, of course, am your host, Landon Oliver, here with my co-host, Andrew Scott, and we have a big day of NFL news for you today. Absolutely wild day. We're going to be going over some of the franchise tag deadlines, what that means for free agency, the guys that were franchised. Then obviously we're going to get into Aaron Rodgers and the huge Russell Wilson news that broke. But before we do start, I want to thank everybody that listened to our last Colts episode. We're up to 220 views, which for this channel is really good. We really appreciate all the support and thank you guys for showing up and listening. And as always, if you have any takes, anything in the comments, we had some pretty good comments as well in there. So we thank you guys for that. We're always welcome to feedback and just ready to kick it off, man. How you guys doing? Did you have a good day today?
Yeah, it was good, man. I mean, it was fun. We got about 2 weeks, a nice little break, NFL offseason. It was good. And now we're right back into the swing of things. The offseason's over. The NFL's back. So today was a lot of fun. It felt like, the NFL was truly back today after coming off the combine, which I know we'll talk about, later this week, our reactions to that, but having the combine and then having this insane day today. I'm ready for football season now.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's was not such a great day for Colts fans.
No, I was with the Titans.
Today was kind of the day all the illusions and fantasies for the game of musical chairs with QBs. If you wanted one of the elite ones, today was the day your dream died if you weren't in Green Bay.
Yeah. I was with a Titans fan earlier today, and he was in the boat of hoping that they would somehow be able to trade Tannehill's contract for Russell Wilson somehow, and he didn't know about the Russell Wilson trade yet. And I told him about that, and I just crushed his day too. So
I wish you would have went to the Colts, so you would have just been able to just.
Oh, that would have.
I was just shocked, but not shocked, but what they gave up, the level of the trade was just.
Look, man, it boils down to. So I was gonna say, did you ever see the Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme? Have you ever watched that?
I did.
There's a part in it where if you ever played Street Fighter, you know who M. Bison is. Mm-hmm. Which I mean, of course, we're old heads over here, but he was played by a dude named Raul Julia, and in there he says something along the lines of like for you it was the greatest day of your life, but for me it was just another Tuesday. And that's what I was thinking today in the NFL, whenever that news broke. We had the Aaron Rodgers news, we had the franchise tags going on, and then the Russell Wilson news broke, and I'm sitting there, for the NFL, this is just another Tuesday. It's always something crazy. The off season is truly when the season begins. And it popped off with a bang today. So yeah, you guys, what do you want to cover first? You want to cover the big news, or do you want to cover the franchise tag?
Well, let's talk about these quarterbacks, man. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's get right into it. I love it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to start off with Aaron Rodgers, which was the big domino that everybody was waiting to fall. Because obviously as soon as that was announced, shit just got crazy. So Aaron Rodgers did announce, and this is per Pat McAfee, by the way, so we are giving him credit. We're not giving the NFL people credit. It's Pat McAfee.
Right.
Per Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers is returning to the Green Bay Packers. It was a reported 4-year, $200 million deal. That got shot down as well by Aaron Rodgers directly on Twitter.
Right.
And by Pat McAfee. Nothing has been signed yet, but it does seem to be heading into a pretty big deal, but also kind of gives the Packers some cap relief as well. So they franchise tagged, as we'll get into.
It seems they're going to make him the highest paid player in the league.
Yeah.
In a way that is most cap friendly. I think it actually says it could save them.
Well, they tagged Davante too. So it's going to have to be cap friendly.
They need the room.
But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is returning.
Second tag for Davante. So $22 million.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
They can't tag him again, so he's He's free next year after making.
Well, I think depending on the length of this contract, I think he's pretty much tied to the hip of Aaron Rodgers.
I would think they're
Yeah,
not
this
going
feels
to
like
go.
another like Tom Brady Gronk thing. Like as long as
Yeah.
Rodgers is here, I'm gonna be here.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you be? I mean, you're coming off another all-pro season where
Yeah, I mean that's why
he just is back-to-back MVP. Why wouldn't
him leaving never made sense. I mean, they were back-to-back MVPs. I mean, I could have made you cases for why he could have gone elsewhere, but like the only destination it seems that was for Russell Wilson was Denver. So you'd assume it would be Aaron Rodgers. But like even now that Wilson is in Denver, they're not favored to win the division. I don't think the Chiefs are. And then there's also Justin Herbert, who's one of the best young quarterbacks. So it's like, why would you leave the NFC if you're Aaron Rodgers in a division you've won the last like 6 years to go
to go to the AFC West?
Football? Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
it never made sense. Like if his goal was to win another championship, like why are you going to the AFC? Tom Brady just walked out of the NFC. There's like no one there. It's like an empty house party.
Except for the Super Bowl champs, you know,
Yeah,
they're over
Rams,
there.
But yeah,
I was gonna say, I know Drew's had a good day.
Yeah, man, I'm thrilled. Are you kidding me? Another quarterback out of the NFC, and a All-Pro linebacker out of the NFC too. I've had a great day today.
yeah, man. I mean, as someone said it, like the two most important players in Seattle franchise history both let go on the same day.
But I mean, as far as Aaron Rodgers goes, yeah, and you know Davante Adams being there too. I mean, it's got to be them and the Rams at the top of the NFC all over again.
I mean,
you know, it's the two teams that should be fighting it out.
Like you would think the Cowboys on paper, but the Cowboys can't win a playoff game. So it's like,
but they're probably going to be the third. I like once the favorite or like once the odds come out, I would imagine they'll probably be the third team.
Well, I think for maybe now, but Friday is going to be a big day from the aspect of the Deshaun Watson stuff.
You mean the grand jury?
Yeah. So that's going on, and if something gets settled with Deshaun Watson, I'm telling you right now, look out for the Carolina Panthers. I fully expect them to be.
Yeah, I think
Deshaun.
If the legal matter clears up, there will be a robust market for Deshaun.
Yeah, Washington.
And I think he will end up in the NFL.
He may go for more than Russell Wilson went, which again, I thought the compensation for Russell Wilson was out of this world. Like as a Colts fan, as someone that wanted Russell Wilson,
I would have paid it 100 times.
Match that in any world. Yeah. We do not have the asset.
Oh no, yeah, we couldn't have matched.
Like,
that.
But they threw in 2 1s, 2 2s, Noah Fant,
Drew Lock.
Yeah, like, and then they also threw in a good young defensive end.
Yeah, Shelby Harris.
Yeah, D tackle. Yeah.
Like, and so thinking about like a pack for a Watson, you're talking like 3.
Well, the thing is with Russell Wilson is like that guy's the face of the franchise and he's squeaky clean. He's so squeaky clean that I'm pretty sure that Denver now has redone the marijuana mandate now to where you can't smoke weed in Colorado, just for Russell Wilson.
That was probably something that he had put in place before he would sign his no trade clause.
Yeah, exactly.
I truly think like if Watson does get cleared and he becomes available, I think Washington is the team to watch, man. They supposedly offered 3 firsts to the Seahawks for Russ. They've made it pretty clear that they want a quarterback. I think that they also realize that they have a talented roster, and if they land Deshaun, I think they become the 3rd best team in the NFC pretty much immediately.
What do we think about the other 2 destinations that have been floated, which would possibly in the NFC, which would possibly be like New Orleans or Philly? Obviously, Philly is a little because they have Hurts.
New Orleans.
I don't think New Orleans can do it just from a cap standpoint.
New Orleans is tough. Yeah.
Like they would have to absolutely gut their roster to even make it work. So that one you would really have to wait and see what the cap casualties are to know, how good that is.
I think it's Philly. I think it's Philly. And I think it's Carolina, and I think it's Washington because he's not getting traded in the AFC. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just there's no reason if you're going to make one of these deals ever to keep the guy in the conference. That's just
right. Yeah. It's just,
so it's like I don't think ever in these mega quarterbacks moving late in their career, I don't think you're ever going to see them move within the conference just because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so Aaron Rodgers not retiring. Not going to the other team.
All the build up, all the drama, just for status quo.
Yeah.
Well, he allowed us in Indy and elsewhere to dream.
Yeah, that McAfee connection.
Got to fantasize. Yeah, the Pat connection. We were all relying on Pat.
Yeah, like it was funny
Aaron
watching.
Rodgers
Like it was funny
Colts.
watching the group kind of talk it through. Because me and Adam are a Colts fan group, and it was funny watching people being like, "Well, he said on Mac, like if he comes to the Colts, he can be on McAfee's show every day." And it's just like, that's where we're going with this.
I still remember
like that's what we're doing.
Whenever all this started, I remember Landon had sent me a clip. He was like, "Look at this! Like Aaron Rodgers said he wants to come to do the Pat McAfee show in person, and he's wearing a blue shirt in the video." And I'm like, "Oh, this man is over here dreaming hard."
No, I mean, I was realistic. I was more or less just trolling.
No, I don't think you actually.
So for the past year, I mean, it's pretty, and I don't can back this up. I've even said this in the group for probably since it even started. Aaron Rodgers wasn't going anywhere, and if he did, it was going to be Denver. It was Denver or Green Bay.
Yeah,
he wants to stay in Green Bay. He's in Green Bay. So, and I love that, honestly, for the Packers. I know my mom called me, like my mom and my grandmother both called me today. They're like, Aaron Rodgers is staying. And I'm like, yeah. Congratulations. I said, congratulations. Like, because I said one of the hardest things to do is to watch an all-time great quarterback win in another team's uniform. Because I had to deal with that with Peyton Manning in the Broncos uniform.
No, that was tough.
And it sucked. It sucked a lot.
We didn't even bring up the Steelers as a potential destination. It's not very Steelers like for them to make us like they typically find them in the draft, but they're a team where if you insert a above average quarterback, a Deshaun Watson, a Russell Wilson, something like that, that becomes a pretty scary team too.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's got to be a quarterback like that because they're going to be running for their life on every play.
Yeah, right. I mean, like that off. I think the problem is that offense has a lot of problems, both on the offensive line and even the skill positions. It's like they have wide receivers, but it's like Juju's kind of like, you don't really know what you're getting with him.
He's gone too. I don't think they re-signed him.
I mean, he's free agent. He's not coming back, and it's like Claypool had a huge year one, big drop. Year two wasn't that great. And then it's like I
love Deontay Johnson.
Deontay's fine.
He's good.
It's and Pat Freiermuth is.
No, he's great. I would say Freiermuth is fantastic.
It's just, I think it's the totality. I think people think the Steelers roster, like, also it's like it's not the easiest division. It's like Lamar and the Ravens, like they got ravaged by injury last year. If they're healthy next year, they're probably going to win that division pretty easily, I would say.
I wouldn't say
easy, but like if you think
we'll see
about
with the Browns, if they actually come to play,
the retirement home version of Big Ben got that Steelers team into the playoffs. So you just think if you upgrade that from what we saw from Big Ben last year, if you turn that into Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson,
what are they going to do? I mean, do they go?
Everything I've heard on the Steelers is they're looking at bringing in a veteran and then drafting a rookie. I know they really want Malik Willis.
That was everything coming out of the Senior Bowl is they had a huge crush on Malik Willis.
Yeah, huge one.
Yeah,
I know they're also pretty high. They are pretty high on Kenny Pickett as well. So I think the route for them is going to be bringing in a veteran. Like, I know Trubisky, from everything I've heard today, is going to end up as a Giant.
Well, I think it's because of
Daboll there. Yeah. Well, yeah. And then he's going to compete with Daniel Jones for the starting gig.
And probably beat him out.
I mean, there's a good chance of that, honestly.
It's not a high bar.
The Steelers, they're looking at bringing in a veteran. They're looking at drafting a guy, and then that's more of the direction they're looking in as opposed to like swinging a big trade for one of these guys.
Yeah, which sounds much more Steeler-like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also I think it's hard for
operate.
It's hard for the Steelers. They're used to consistent winning, and they, as you said, they do it internally. I was gonna say it's a tough division because, as I said, I think you have the Ravens are going to make a comeback next year. You have the Bengals, obviously, who are in the Super Bowl, and they only should get better. They have cap room. And then it's like
they're an offensive line away from
the Browns were favored to be the third best team in the AFC coming into this season, and
we're well aware on this show.
Yeah, Landon and I were very, very high on the Browns last offseason.
Yeah, so it's like that's a tough division, and it's like I don't know what they're gonna do. Maybe they do start young because like that offensive line is really bad, and it's gonna take a lot to fix it.
I'll tell you what, we can talk about other quarterback situations all day long, but there was an actual quarterback situation that went down today in a
Oh
different
my
division.
goodness.
And this is the massive NFL news of the day. I know Adam touched on it here a few minutes ago, but Russell Wilson, officially a Denver Bronco, going to a loaded AFC West that includes Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, and now Russell Wilson. You want to talk about a murderer's row of a division?
At least Russ is used to playing in a loaded division, so it won't be
yeah.
much
I was
of an
going to say,
adjustment.
man,
for him.
I don't know what it is about the West in every it's literally the Wild West. So I know Drew's probably really happy because
we finally have a team that's in a rebuild in our division. It's so nice.
Well, not only that, but so you've got the Kyler Murray news where all that stuff's going on.
Well, it's back
now the Seattle's
all
rebuilding.
The pictures are back.
And then the 49ers, you're trading Jimmy, but you don't really know what you have in Trey Lance. So I mean, realistically, you're looking at the Rams like, well, man,
no, it's wide open.
They should easily, they should easily win that division. and now you're looking at the other West division, and it's you're sitting there and you're just like, my God.
Have you ever seen a trade with this much compensation? I was trying to think back, like if you've ever been this much given for one player.
The Herschel
like
Walker
obviously
deal?
there was the whole which other deal?
Well, the Herschel Walker deal was a pretty big one.
Yeah, the Herschel Walker deal was a pretty big one.
The Ricky Williams deal
was a whole draft.
Was a big he literally traded the entire draft for Ricky Williams.
But
that's still so funny.
2 ones, including number 9 overall.
Yeah,
so
on the top 10 pick right off the rip.
Top 10 pick on the point chart. Then another one, 2 2s, then a pick swap, a 4 and a 5, and you include a young defensive end. And then the thing that gets it for me is the reason the Colts never could have competed or some other teams can't. Noah Fant is a good young playmaker, like a dynamic playmaker.
Really good. He's a really good tight end.
He's on his original contract. It's like that on top of 2 1s, 2 2s.
I think this is the rare trade where I think both teams made out really well.
Both teams did what they was looking to do.
Yeah. Well, Denver also. So Denver, Russell Wilson goes to Denver now. They didn't have to give up one of the wide receivers. So now he goes to a team. It's got Cortland Sutton. It's got Tim Patrick. It's got Jerry Judy.
And they like Albert O.
Albert O, man.
I
like Albert O out of the draft. Albert O is a really, really good tight end. Mm-hmm. Not only that, now also the backfield was even with Javonte Williams.
Yeah, they got 2.
And I can promise you right now, Denver's O-line might not be, as hyped up as what it is. It'll easily be the best offensive line Russell Wilson's ever played.
Yeah.
So, at least since early in his career.
If they bring Melvin Gordon back, I saw this, like it would reunite him with they played together in Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know Drew's hoping Melvin Gordon doesn't come back.
Yeah, he needs to stay the hell away from Denver.
He's a Javonte dynasty owner. So
oh yeah. Well, I had some shares of Davante. He was good.
But yeah, I mean the compensation is huge, and I'm fascinated to see what the Seahawks do with that number 9 pick. I imagine they're probably targeting their quarterback of the future.
They really like Malik.
Mina Kimes said Willis.
Mina Kimes is plugged in with Seattle. So
there's been multiple people.
She said
Mina's as good as it gets.
Her coping tweet, she said, was like, okay, I'm ready to like hard to do, but it's like number 9. Let's just do it. Throw it at the wall. Get Willis.
Yeah, there's been multiple people plugged in that say the Seahawks are really, really high on Malik Willis.
Well, the thing is also,
it'd be fascinating though to see if that's like a smoke screen to try to get another team to trade up in front of them or something, and then their guy just fall to him too. Like
no,
that.
I mean, I gotta think if you look back at the last few drafts, that kind of athletic quarterback, like if you look at the last few that have been drafted, especially the ones taken late, both Watson and Lamar are looked at as huge mistakes for all the teams that passed on them. And then like Kyler's worked out. It's like those ones that have the elite skill and athleticism and can run and do all the tools have been pretty successful recently. So I think if you're going up to or taking it at 9, I think you feel fine if he's the guy, if in your mind, if he is the next Lamar Jackson, if he is the next Kyler Murray, like if he is the next Deshaun Watson.
Well, he has all the tools. I think the thing that's pushed him up so far though is the guy absolutely killed the combine. and
Oh
the
yeah, those
interviews.
those were awesome.
Well,
Yeah,
no, I'm talking about the
they went
interview.
viral.
The interview room. He was extremely impressive in the interview room.
He had a
Yeah.
good Senior Bowl week too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's so I think that's got his stock just as high as his, the obvious athletic ability and all that. But Russell Wilson, look, let's stay on task here. Russell Wilson, Denver Bronco. What does this mean for the Denver Broncos? To me, I just don't know yet. This is just such a hard of it because you still have Kansas City.
No, it means a lot, but doesn't mean anything. It does. Honestly,
I mean, yeah, that exactly.
Like you're in the best division of football, and it's like you went off the 4 quarterbacks. It's like clearly the Chiefs are the favorite in the division. Justin Herbert has arguably had 2 of the best seasons of all time as starting out your career.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, they got the most cap space in the NFL, right?
Yeah. And then like the Raiders made the playoffs and like almost beat the Bengals, who went to the Super Bowl, like came within a play of beating them.
Yeah. Well, I think the Raiders too, like, I mean, like if you're a Raiders fan right now and you're like, you got to be so mad. And look, Josh McDaniels just signed there. And this couldn't happen to a worse guy. Like, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Josh McDaniels is getting like, he's in, like, he comes to the division. He leaves the division, or he leaves New England, once again, because obviously it worked out in the AFC West the last time he was there. So he goes back to the AFC West and immediately just gets shit on.
Well, it's
right off the bat.
His former team does it right, whereas
the Denver,
with him they did it wrong. They drafted. This time they go out and they get a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, just fantastic.
Play against them
fantastic. So if you're a Raiders fan, you've just got to be feeling like you can't win for losing. So to me, if you're a Raiders fan, do you look at the other quarterbacks in the division? You say, hey, Derek Carr's wanting $40 million a year. His value might not ever be as high as it is right now, because we're definitely not winning the division next year, which, I mean, I can't say definitely because I said, the Bengals were going to finish last in their division. They ended up in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, you never say never, but the way it looks from the outside looking in.
No, I don't know, especially looking at, let's see, like the teams we talked about, look, people like the Colts, like Pittsburgh, like Denver before they got Russell Wilson. Looking at the purgatory these teams are in or at quarterback, I just can't imagine having a quarterback like Derek Carr, no matter what you think of him. Seems to be a top 10 passer in the league.
Oh, no, I love him.
Seems to be a guy you can build around. I just can't imagine going from that situation to QB purgatory, because there's no answer next. They'd be going into the draft to do it.
You like, look at almost going like a full rebuild as far as
and it's like I don't.
It's like, hey, like let's see if we can outlast over the next 2 or 3 years.
I think they think,
and then we'd be ready to compete here in a few years.
I think they think they're ascending because they went from not being a playoff team to being a playoff team. So like,
but here's the bad news though. If you're that, and watch, I don't think they need to make the move if I'm a Raiders fan for sure. But Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere. No. Russell Wilson's probably got at least 5 more years in him. And then Justin Herbert's, you're looking at, unless, something crazy happens. I mean, you're looking at Justin Herbert possibly playing the next 13, 14 seasons. So these guys aren't going anywhere, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's weird though, is Carr actually has a pretty good record against like Patrick Mahomes. Like the Raiders do pretty well against the Chiefs.
Yeah. They're good for usually about one win a year.
He just beat Herbert in a playoff game. So it's like, with Carr, he can play with those guys. Maybe he's not those guys equal like potential MVP candidate. I mean, he had that one year where he got hurt at the end of the year where he was in the conversation, but I don't think we think he's that elite guy, but at least he gives you a chance, right? That's all you want is a chance.
Yeah. That's what great quarterbacks do.
Us a chance.
That's what great quarterbacks do. They give you a chance.
Well, that's the thing is like, and if you trade him, then you go from having a chance to.
Well, yeah, I don't think they move him, but I mean, just like hypothetically, you're just sitting there and you're just, you're looking at this division and you're just like, well, God, like where do the Raiders go?
No, they're in a tough spot. I mean, even Russ is in a tough spot. Like,
exactly. Denver's
great talent, but like you're in the Chiefs division. They've been
the only worry for
last
me,
3
the only
years.
worry for me when it comes to this, the worry's not Russell Wilson at all, and it's not coaching, because I really like Hackett. I think he's going to end up being a really good coach. What worries me is the defensive side of the ball. They just finished, as I believe they were the number 3 scoring defense, or were they number 1?
Well,
Regardless, they were top 3.
They were very good.
Most categories. They were elite.
I mean,
I think a lot of people don't really underestimate what Vic Fangio, while he might not have been a great head coach, brought to that defense. So I'm wondering to see if there's a drop off from the defense with.
Oh, you mean just from the loss of Fangio?
Yeah, exactly. I'm curious to see how that defense rebounds, if it can maintain that, which I love Patrick Surtain, but I'm curious to see if it can maintain that, or if there's going to be a little bit of a drop off. But now they have mitigated that drop off on defense with more than likely having an elite offense. And that's what you really need to win in today's NFL.
And they also just turned their team into a very attractive free agent destination too, where players are now going to be willing to take a little bit less money for a chance to, to chase a ring.
That's a great point. And I'd actually like to talk about that. I think one of the most important things this free agency cycle taught us, and these trades, Aaron staying where he is and Russell going to the Broncos, is how important it is to build your roster, to have young dynamic playmakers on the roster, especially if you're in the art of trying to attract a quarterback. Like, the reason Russell Wilson only wanted to go to the Broncos is because the Broncos had a great set of skill positions he was walking into that he really liked. And it's like,
I mean, if the cover was barren, look, it's a lot easier to lure, flies with honey than it is with vinegar.
Right. And so it's like, if you're an NFL GM or an owner, you got to look at that. Like, these teams that are investing high capital and draft capital and trades and free agency to go get quality wide receivers and tight ends has been rewarding for them. Like, you look at the Bengals, they're in the Super Bowl. It's like they drafted a wide receiver in the second round, 2 years in a row. Then they drafted a guy in the first round. And it's like, they're willing to do that. Go back to keep refilling it with elite playmakers. Both helps your quarterback.
Well, they drafted the Bengals is a little bit different.
Yeah, but
they drafted Joe Burrow. I mean, you're not always going to have the
but the Broncos
look,
Broncos did similar. I mean, look at the investments in Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, but I agree, but I think it's just two different. It's the same ending, but two different ways to get there.
No, I just think it's showing that much more important. It's the game. The game really is an open game now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in the year 2022.
And that's the thing. And it's also the receivers. I think it's a point you made earlier. The receivers now are better because the schemes are similar in both college and pros. They come in more ready to make an immediate impact.
Yeah.
And they're just better. You get a better return on capital by going for a first or second round receiver and building up that talent pool on your roster. Or even a tight end if you get a dynamic tight end.
Yeah, look, if I'm a receiver right now and I'm on the bubble, I'm looking to switch to cornerback because look, man, that's where a lot of money is going to be made here in the next decade is elite shutdown cornerbacks, because the influx at the wide receiver position has had, or especially the last 3 to 4 years, has just been out of this world, and now it's going to get to the point where it's like, well, teams are going to start paying premiums for guys who can stop that.
Yeah.
So Russell Wilson is a Denver Bronco. That's the big news of the day, other than Aaron Rodgers. And we also did have some pretty big franchise tags as well, as we always do. We start free agency. We're looking down the list. We're like, well, this guy's available. This guy's available. This guy's available. By the time we're a week out from free agency, we're looking at the free agent list and we're just like, it's okay. So
well, it's that way if you wanted a tight end today.
Yeah, today was not a good day for the tight end market for sure. So Drew, you have a list of guys that got tagged today. You want to go ahead and throw that up there? We can go over it real quick.
Yeah, so in no particular order, we've got, and I don't have it ready to throw on the screen, but we've got the Kansas City Chiefs franchise tagged offensive tackle Orlando Brown. So that was the first one on the list. And I'll just kind of try to go by position a little bit because it was basically 3 positions, I think. And then the other offensive tackle was Jacksonville Jaguars offensive tackle Cam Robinson. And that one was probably the weirdest franchise tag of any of the ones that happened today for me personally.
Well, that's 2 years in a row for him, right?
Yeah, that's year number 2.
And because they have a high pick, people thought they may be hitting the market because they have the one.
And I still think they should be because I don't think Cam Robinson's that good.
No,
which is why this doesn't make sense.
The odds in Vegas based on that tag for Hutchinson going number 1 went
up.
Went from like plus 650 to negative 250. Like he's the overwhelming favorite to go 1 now after that.
And it makes sense. But I even with this tag, I still look at offensive line as a major need. I mean, they had Cam Robinson on the offensive line last year and it still sucked. So like, I mean, it doesn't change now just because they tagged him again, and I don't think he's that great of a player. Like
but if you look out on the market, there is Armstead who didn't get tagged, who's probably the most notable guy not to get tagged.
But that's about it.
Outside of that, it's slim pickings if you want to.
Right.
I know the Colts are in that market, and there's not. We're likely running it back with Eric Fisher. God.
Yeah, and so I mean, for the Chiefs, it sounded like the discussion came down to: do we want to tag Orlando Brown or do we want to keep Honey Badger? They elected to keep the offensive lineman, so that's kind of the question that surrounds their decision. Was that the right pick? I personally, I think it was, but there might be people that feel otherwise. But I think that was a smart decision.
Well, he's much younger.
Yeah. And with them trading for him, I just don't feel like they could just get the games they did out of him and let him walk.
Plus,
and he didn't play bad. He played great.
Well, you protect the quarterback.
Yeah,
that's the name of the game.
You made him the highest paid player at the time in the league, so it makes sense to protect him.
Yeah,
right. So that was the 2 offensive linemen, and then you had 2 wide receivers. You had Green Bay Packers wide receiver Davante Adams, and then Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Chris Godwin. Both got tagged. I think obviously the more notable one, just for the sake of next season, would be Davante Adams, just with how in shambles the rest of the Buccaneers roster is with the hole at quarterback and all the other free agents that they have. Chris Godwin's an incredible player, an incredible receiver, but I think just for next season's purposes, I think Davante Adams is obviously the big one here. With him and Aaron Rodgers
Godwin's coming off the surgery, so
right,
he's also going to be returning from injury.
Yeah. Well, I think their hope is they can iron out a long-term deal.
Yeah, and both parties sound interested in doing that.
I just don't think they were ever going to let Godwin walk and get no compensation for him.
And I don't think they should either. He's an incredible talent. Like you don't let that guy just hit free agents.
No, you don't let those kind of playmakers walk. Not when they're that young. And again, like if they're ever going to do it, it's in like a Stephon Diggs or Nook type trade where you're getting multiple pick assets to go replace the guy. And even then, I don't think those deals have really worked out for the teams that traded away the guy. I think they worked out much better for the teams that acquired the player.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's better to have talented players on your roster than to not have talented players on your roster.
That's honestly the name of the game right now in NFL is how many talented playmakers do you have on your roster?
But I mean, for this one, you have to be excited for Packers fans to get to running back with Rodgers and Adams again. I mean, those 2 have been.
It will be how they manage the cap, though, because his 22 mil, and obviously Rodgers is doing some cap shenanigans.
Yeah.
And Zadarius is more than likely getting released. Preston Smith's probably going to get released. There's some guys on that
looking at extending J. Alexander as well, which
that'll give them
they need
his
to
cap around.
They have Kevin King on the other side.
Well, I think
you got to do whatever you have to keep Alexander in the field.
Well, I don't think Kevin King's going to be back as well. I think there's talk.
No one thought he would be back last year.
And if the Packers do not use their late first round pick this year to draft
a wide receiver,
like that had to be part of the deal. Was like Rodgers, like you have to guarantee me you're going to take the best wide receiver available.
They're in the mood of giving Aaron everything he wanted, which is like.
Yeah, it really does seem like they're ready to just do whatever they have to.
He wanted say in the front office, and he wanted to be paid as the highest paid player in the league, and he wanted long-term security. So it's like they're giving it. They've just made the decision that we're just going to do everything we can to make the guy happy, And
which is
that's
what they should.
Yeah, I mean, he's two-time MVP. I mean,
back to back.
still questions about the postseason legacy. I think it's going to catch up with him if this keeps up. But
they should have been doing this back whenever they were using premium picks on a backup quarterback and a backup running back.
I mean,
yeah, how bad in retrospect does
should we discuss
trade
that?
right now?
Where is Jordan Love? Where is Love going? Isn't this intriguing? I mean,
in all honesty, I think there's a good chance he still ends
pick.
up. I still think he ends up in Green Bay. I still think they're reluctant to move him.
Well, what really is his trade market though? I mean,
Exactly.
he hasn't played much.
And he's on a rookie deal.
The one game
Garoppolo was a 2.
Well, Jimmy Garoppolo Jimmy Garoppolo actually looked decent whenever he was on the field before he got traded. Though.
Yeah,
Jordan Love did not look very impressive in that game against Kansas City.
Sam Darnold looked terrible on the field, and look how much Sam Darnold went for a 204 and a 6.
Well, I think even the Carolina Panthers believe there might be some truth to the whole post Adam Gase. Triumph.
I'm just saying 2-4 and a 6 for Darnold.
Yeah, that looks really, really bad.
I think a 1, but I think the question is, so let's say there's a few QB needy teams left. It's not many of them. It's now Seattle, it's Pittsburgh, it's Indy, it's a couple Washington.
Philadelphia has been in the market.
Yeah, they have Hurts. I don't think it would make sense for Love. I don't think they do. But where's he going? You got to assume he's on the move. They're not gonna. He's still a first round quarterback. It's his 3rd year. The cap number starts to get up there. Also, I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants him around. Honestly,
I mean,
if it's gonna I don't. If it's going to bring back a 2nd round pick to go get a wide receiver, I think he wants them to bring back.
So if they could get a 2nd round pick out of him, I think they would trade him tomorrow, or today, yesterday, whatever.
Well,
if they could get a 2nd round pick out of him, I don't think they could get that. I really don't.
People said if he was in this draft, he would be the number 1 quarterback.
See, I didn't.
I don't agree.
I guess that's where my opinion gets soured. Then I guess because I didn't like Love the year that he was coming out either, and he hasn't done anything
I don't agree with that
to change my opinion on that.
Well, this class is regarded as very low.
But there's a couple guys that I really like. I do agree. The general consensus is this is like a bad quarterback class.
Well,
but
let me touch on this real quick. So the NFL views this quarterback class a lot differently than what the media views it as. The media is viewing this as a bad quarterback class. I think because it doesn't necessarily have that slam dunk quarterback. It doesn't have, you're not getting a Joe Burrow out of this class. You're not getting a Trevor Lawrence.
No, it doesn't really have a lot of high profile guys at all.
But there's a lot of NFL teams that like a lot of these guys. What they do.
I think the thing is each of these guys has traits, but because none of them come from the LSUs like a Burrow or like Clemson, like as you said, the can't miss, big school, big name, 6'4", 200 pounds, like the prototypical quarterback that people have been looking for the last few years is not in this class. And then when it is, the guys that are usually guys that have certain tools that are intriguing because you're trying to project. Because you haven't seen it. So it's even like Willis. Willis went to a small school. So you're really projecting based on the skill set what you think he's gonna do. Pickett, same thing. It's like he has the tools, he looks like a quarterback, but did you see it in college? I liked Matt Carroll a lot. But even at Ole Miss, like you get exposure to it, but it's not like they got to a bowl game. They had a better season than they'd had in the past. And it's like same thing with Ritter. It's like Cincinnati had a great season. I would say, like, obviously they got to a bowl game, but he didn't play that well in that one game that he had the elite.
Well, I mean, yeah, he had to play.
Line was awful.
He had to play Alabama.
He did, but it was his one chance to play elite competition.
Well, I don't think he played bad, but if you watch the film, his offensive line got absolutely.
They got dominated.
It was bad, but he made some really impressive throws in that game.
I'm not an NFL GM by any stretch of the imagination, but if I put on my GM hat, if I'm looking at this with Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson gone, that to me is end of list quarterbacks I'm looking to acquire to go for a Super Bowl. Like there's guys out there still that might get you 1-2 more wins than you had last year. But like if you put if you put Jimmy Garoppolo on Washington or Indy or something like that. Like, I'm not picking those guys to go to the Super Bowl now.
No,
So
nor should you.
Once you get to that
Agreed.
point, once you get to that point, to me, now I'm looking at the draft where I'm, like Patrick Mahomes was what the 10th pick in the draft, I think. And the majority of people had Mitch Trubisky ahead of him, had Deshaun Watson ahead of him. I'm looking, and that's where a lot of people have the first quarterback coming off the board or the second quarterback coming off the board right around that range. So if I'm a GM, now that Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson are out of the picture, I'm looking at the draft and I'm deciding who my favorite quarterback is, and I'm trying to take my shot to get a franchise quarterback.
Isn't that what I said today the Colts should do? That was that exact thing.
I think a more likely route is for some of these teams is they're going to be looking to bring in, a Marcus Mariota, more of like a veteran type of guy, and then pair him.
There's only a couple of Trubisky,
and
James
then
Winston.
If your goal is to bring those guys in because you're going to draft the rookie that you love and you want somebody there that's been a professional to kind of help them along, then I think that is a good route. I just don't like the idea of a team being like a team like seeing the Russell Wilson trade and be like, you know what, we're going to go all in too. Let's go get Jimmy G. Because like you might have just got 2 wins better.
I don't think
you didn't get
G
Super Bowl better.
Well, the thing is, if you're the argument, the devil's advocate, let's say for someone like the Colts or Pittsburgh, even Jimmy G has shown that his ceiling with a good team and a high level is making it to the Super Bowl and coming within like a possession of winning, and also beating Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and going to the conference title game and losing to the defending champ. So it's like, that's the thing for Jimmy is like actually the ceiling, depending on the team around him, is quite high.
So I agree with
because
that.
of what you've seen. That's the only thing. That's the only devil's advocate.
But I understand that argument, and it's good to hear the other side of it too, and not just be one-sided on this. And I mean, I'm on record that I don't think Jimmy G is all that good, so I'm obviously always going to be on the other side. But like, I don't think Jimmy G will ever be in a situation like there isn't a situation better for him than playing in Kyle Shanahan's system with Deebo Samuel and how good that running game is, and George Kittle, and how much pressure is taking off of him. And let's be clear, Jimmy G did not beat the Packers. He was on the field.
No.
He was on the field.
Jimmy G had one good drive, which because of how bad Aaron Rodgers played was
right. So one drive. The Jimmy G argument's a weird one, because he does have the accolades, but he doesn't have the stats. To me, I agree on certain things you said, Andrew. I do agree. The situation of having George Kittle, having Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk's another really good one. The running game, I agree that does help a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo. On the flip side of that, in a weird way, I think Shanahan's system actually almost kind of held him back some. Because some of the things that Shanahan's system kind of accentuates are not necessarily things that Jimmy G is the greatest at.
Yeah, the mobility. Yeah.
Well, not even necessarily the mobility, but I think Shanahan, we've both acknowledged on here, Drew and I, Shanahan can get a little too cute for, the detriment of himself.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not always to the, I guess.
No, I guess
the positivity of the quarterback situation. And plus too, Jimmy G had a lot of freedom in that system as far as like, checking into those runs, checking into some plays, getting the offensive line. Yeah, absolutely. That's a perfect way to describe it.
And good leadership.
He's not going to throw 40 touchdowns, but he's also,
honestly, I don't know.
More often than not, because no quarterback does it every time, but more often than not, he's going to get you into the correct look and into the correct play call. And I think that's where his strength lies. So if you're a team like Indianapolis, where you're coming off from Carson Wentz, who literally did the exact opposite all season, you're looking at a guy like Jimmy G. It's like, well, this guy can run the offense efficiently. He can get the ball out in time, accurately, and, hit guys with anticipation. That's something that Wentz didn't do, and that's how Frank wants to run his offense. Is Jimmy G more talented than Carson Wentz? No. Is Jimmy G an upgrade for the offense over Carson Wentz? I think he is. that's where you have to look at it from a different perspective.
He's
with
also
Jimmy
not just an
Garoppolo.
upgrade from offense; he's an upgrade from a winning perspective. Like there are certain things that QBs
Yeah,
do.
Jimmy G's got that. Like I said this earlier, Jimmy G's got that weird. He's like the great value Tom Brady, where like things just happen. Like with Jimmy G on the field.
Do. But the
like,
thing is, he makes some things happen too, which is a shocking stat. I think I told Landon and the other, like the people in our group. In obvious passing situations, I think over in the last 2 years, and Jimmy only played 4 games the year before because he got hurt. But in obvious passing situations, this is like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 that they calculate in QBR, where the defense knows you're passing. I think Jimmy was the number 1 quarterback in those situations. You would never think that.
He's very good. A lot of like, I don't like the yards per attempt stat with Jimmy G because a lot of that is well, a lot of that's yards after a lot of that's yards after catch.
Yeah,
a lot of his yards are yards after catch. But I think if you do end up with a guy like Jimmy G, I think you feel comfortable with what you have, and you're automatically walking in, like he's walking into that locker room automatically as a great leader. Like, I mean, the guy's leadership skills and what he did for San Francisco, I think was fantastic. But are you thinking that you're going to win the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo? No. So I do.
No, you're not. The question is, do you want to basically? It's the short term versus the long term, and we're having this debate. And
which is why like
Indy's having this debate.
Which is what Drew said. You want to get a guy like that, but then you do what San Francisco did, where you draft a young talent.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like Frank Reich's going to get fired if they have another losing season.
I don't agree with that.
He doesn't. Landon doesn't.
I don't agree with that.
You go 5 years with 1 playoff win, no division titles, and come after the Jacksonville loss, and then
he's got a longer leash than what you think he does,
and keep your job.
Yeah, he's got a. I mean, like if the wheels fall off, yeah.
And
like I said,
I think
we're not turning this into a Colts podcast.
Not even us. Look at the Steelers. I think if Mike Tomlin wants to get back to the playoffs, as you said, if their plan is draft a guy, groom him, but they want to compete because they think they have a pretty good roster. Which on defense, you would have to say they got some elite playmakers and they got some good wide receivers and Freiermuth and pretty good running back. I could see them making a run at Jimmy G and trying to compete. I mean, this was a team that like made the playoffs with Big Ben, who didn't look good at all.
I see.
And to that point, put Jimmy G on the Colts. Put Jimmy G on the Steelers.
Yeah, they're playoff teams.
I'm not picking. Both those teams make I'm picking both those teams to make the playoffs.
And then lose.
I might pick one playoff game.
Maybe they win one
ceiling.
Game. Maybe they win. Yeah, maybe they win a wild card.
Which again, that is no team's goal. Is this year we're going to win one playoff game.
Yeah, well then you get stuck in no man's land, and you're too good to have a good pick next year, but you're not good enough to win a Super Bowl.
But any team. My point is this year, if you have your guy, any team that has a first round pick, they're within range to at least trade up to get their guy. You don't have to trade to number 1 to get your guy this year. So
you may be able to trade into the late first and get your guy.
So that's
47 to the late first is not a lot.
I would much rather go that route.
Twos.
If there's a guy that an NFL team truly believes in, I would much rather go that route.
No, I'm saying for the Colts, I think right now, almost anybody you bring in. So if it's Jimmy G, if it's any of the free agents, if it's Mitch, if it's Mariota, if it's bringing Carson back, almost all your options, you don't really have the long.
That ain't happening.
So Carson. But I'm saying any of those options really outside of Jimmy G, and even with Jimmy G, you don't have the long-term answer. You're at 47. I think if you like Matt Carroll or one of the other guys, that's not going to be that 3rd, 4th quarterback. That's probably going to be in that 20 to 30 range. Like that's doable for a lot of teams. It's not a huge move. Teams have like had success. Obviously, Lamar was drafted there. Derek Carr was drafted with the first pick of the 2nd round. It's like you can get a quarterback in that late period in the 1st round. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers going back years ago. It's like in that the 20s. If you have your guy and he's falling, you can go get him. And I'm not opposed to that. I mean, honestly, like if you're in QB purgatory, I mean, the biggest thing you want, I think, in the NFL is hope, at least for the fan base. There's nothing worse than being stuck not having a QB and being kind of caught in the middle. As Lance said, maybe you make the playoffs, maybe you lose in the first round, but then you don't have the assets to go get a quarterback.
Yep.
I think you do got to identify one of those guys and go pick them. I mean, I think that's the way you got to go.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was a fun discussion. I have no idea how talking about the wide receivers that got tagged turned into that, but that was fun though. But so,
well, I think the Jordan Love situation is how.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
So let's move on
to see where he's going to go.
There were 3 tight ends that were tagged. Yes. This was the position that had the most activity. So you had Cleveland Browns tight end David Njoku, Miami Dolphins tight end who actually plays wide receiver Mike Gesicki, and Dallas Cowboys tight end Dalton Schultz. All of it's like less than $11 million to tag these guys, which I think for all 3 teams makes a lot of sense for different reasons. For the Dolphins, Mike Gesicki, I said jokingly tight end that's actually wide receiver, but I mean, literally it was like what I read earlier today is like 85% of his snaps were spent either in the slot or out wide. Like the guy's literally a wide receiver, and the wide receiver tag is like $9 million more expensive than the tight end tag. So you're basically tagging a guy that you use as a wide receiver at tight end. And then for Cleveland, the 2 tight end sets for them are so important, and Njoku is, I mean, he's not utilized to make plays the way he should in that offense, or at least hasn't been up to this point, but I think he is a extremely talented tight end and an important piece to that offense, the way that they operate. And then Dalton
Schultz,
a lot
of money in their 2 tight ends now, though.
Yeah, they do, which I thought Austin Hooper was an overpay at the time, but
is he a cut candidate or a trade candidate?
No, they've already said they're going to keep him.
Yeah, and I don't know what his cap hit would look like. And then Dalton Schultz for Dallas, I mean, he was a huge part of that offense last year.
Yeah.
And I kind of assumed that whenever Blake Jarwin was ready to get back on the field,
I heard he's not ready. I heard he
had a setback.
I heard he had a setback. So I think they're all the more.
Before his emergence, like before Schultz's emergence last year, I just assumed that Jarwin was going to step back in and be the guy. And then you saw obviously why Schultz stayed on the field.
He looked great.
Yeah.
He looked Absolutely. Perfect for what that offense needs out of their tight end, that little like move tight end. Like he was really good.
Yeah. And it sounds like they're going to be without Amari Cooper, so they're going to need him that much more. Supposedly they're bringing back.
Yeah, which is crazy to think because that whole situation happened because what did they do, Andrew?
They did what you never do. They paid running backs.
You never pay running backs.
You don't.
Now they got Tony Pollard wasting.
Not just paying running backs. They
on a rookie deal.
They made the worst running back contract of all time, arguably.
Yeah, that's a bad one, man.
This year, $23 million or something like that.
Yeah, it's high.
It's like his play has dropped off significantly.
He looks like he's playing good, and then he gets hurt, and then his price tag
Quicksand.
Requires him to just play through it, and he plays hurt the rest of the year, and you get what you get.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the tight end market now, so with those 3 guys getting tagged, now you're looking, what was going to be a pretty robust tight end market actually, if you needed one. Now you're looking at guys, Zach Ertz, CJ Uzoma, Kyle Rudolph, who I believe is still wanting to play. You still got Jared Cook if he doesn't retire, Robert Tonyan, OJ Howard.
It's really two people. Again, if we don't consider
Eric Ebron's available.
Wait, what about isn't Evan Ingram out there? I think Evan Ingram's a free agent too. I'm pretty sure that this was his last year in New York.
It'd be interesting to see him in another offense if he could ever.
Sure is. Yeah, I would be curious about it.
I'm pretty interested in Evan.
He has a big issue with drops though.
Yeah, I think
with being on the field too.
It's basically Ertz, and I think probably people would say Tonyan if you want.
Look, I really like CJ Uzomah. I'll tell you that right now. But he's
pretty good. Yeah, well, what's the injury like though?
There was another name you said that I was interested in whenever you said it, and I forgot who it was.
I'm really interested in Zach Ertz. I think
so. There was Gerald Everett. There's Jared Cook, Kyle Rudolph, Robert Tonyan would be one, but you have to think he's going to end up back in Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean
OJ Howard.
OJ Howard, that was the one.
Yeah,
he's coming off an Achilles tendon tear.
Still on the OJ Howard train.
I like it, man. I do.
He's good at Alabama. He was really good. He played great.
I think he could be an option, man.
I have hope for those guys that that they had the athletic profiles coming out of college, like OJ Howard, Evan Ingram. I'm not ready to quit on those guys yet, even though I probably should be. I want to see them
I
in
think
another
Gerald
uniform.
Everett's a big option too.
I like
Everett's a good
I
option.
like Gerald Everett too.
Yeah, I like Gerald Everett. I think the Colts will look good with Gerald Everett.
Yeah, I think he would be
He's
for
a
somebody
freak,
looking
man.
for
He's an athletic freak.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of these guys, I think outside of Zach Ertz, I think mostly all of these other guys are going to slot in as like good, solid tight ends, and I maybe probably best in a 2 tight end rotation where you have 2 weapons after the top. I mean, obviously Tanyan has been with Aaron Rodgers. He's had some production. Honestly, I probably think with more production on the 2-time MVP's offense is one of the only pass catchers. But I mean, between like I think Ertz is probably the only one you can kind of being like a true one. Even like Gerald Everett was coming from a 2 tight end system.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these other guys, like you the second tier, because of all the guys that were tagged, this market for tight ends got thin real quick. Like if you want an up tight end, if you want to get your new starting tight end, it's going to be hard in this free agent market.
Yeah, that was kind of the headline of the whole franchise tag process for me, is like if you were a team looking for a tight end, you went from being excited to being bummed as hell.
Oh yeah. Well, look at the Colts, Jack Doyle.
Yeah, he just retired, right? Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Jack. Like
Ali Cox
went to college with Jack.
Oh yeah, that's right. Y'all did go to college together.
Yeah,
that's
went
crazy.
to college with Jack. Had World Civ with Jack Doyle actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
Had a World Civ class, and so I got to see Jack every Saturday for, gosh, what 2 years? Because I think we overlapped. So I think a couple years, and then he went off, and he got drafted by the Titans, or he signed with the Titans as an undrafted free agent, which I was just like, shit. So then they cut him. Then he comes to the Colts and becomes a Pro Bowl tight end. So give it to him Jack, on Saturdays, man. like really like soft spoken, super nice guy, and now he's retiring from the Colts as a Pro Bowl tight end. I got to watch him with my favorite team, and that's so cool. So
I really just want
to. Yeah, I just really want to give a shout out to Jack Doyle. Thank you for all the years. I'm glad I got to experience some of them with you. And just good luck in retiring. You're literally retiring at 30 years old. So I mean,
must be nice.
Living the dream. living the dream. Yeah.
No, but honestly, he's a great story, as you said, talking about it. Undrafted tight end. Like works hard, good blocker.
Oh, such a hard worker.
How to read defenses, knows where to settle down in the zone. Like never overly athletic, but because of his knowledge of the game and his smarts, got himself open, made some plays. And I mean, also good for him, man, going from an undrafted guy, he got paid.
Yeah, he did, man. And he deserved every bit of it, man. Like
hard. He checked every white man basic stereotype in the book on the way.
Coach's son,
Jim Rat, coach's son, first one in, last
plays
one
the game
out.
the right way. Your tight end market's dried up, and I believe there was a single defensive player tagged.
And it might be honestly, I think this might be the best use of the franchise tag.
I was going to say, it was a hell of a defensive player.
The level of talent you get, and then the price tag you're getting them at for the Cincinnati Bengals to get Jessie Bates, the safety, for under $13 million, I think is. I think that they work out a long-term deal. I think they work out a long-term deal. But to get Jessie, if they don't, to get Jessie Bates with how great of a safety he is for less than $13 million, I think that's incredible.
He's the heart of that defense.
One of the most underrated players in the NFL as a whole.
Oh yeah, I don't think most people knew who he was before this year. I didn't.
Crazy. He's one of the top safeties.
Pretty knowledgeable about football. I didn't really know who he was till this year, and then
absolutely fantastic safety. Yeah, fantastic safety. So, but yeah,
a bunch of offensive guys and Jessie Bates.
Yeah, pretty much a light tagging year. There wasn't a ton of teams that tagged guys, but the guys that did get tagged, it did have kind of an impact on the market. Not necessarily as much the wide receiver market, because nobody really expected Davante Adams to be on the move. So really the only guy you're really looking at was Chris Godwin.
But it was more the people that got taken off the market, not just by the tag. You also had Mike.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say
that again, the tag.
Then we did have a couple extensions that did happen today. We touched on the Harold Landry extension. Tennessee is going to be bringing him back to a pretty big price tag.
Yeah, 5 years, 87.5 million, 52.5 million guaranteed.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And then the other wide receiver that was taken off the market is Mike Williams with the Chargers. I believe they signed him to a $60 million deal.
Yep, 3 years, 28 million guaranteed in year one.
Yeah, which, I mean, look, it's a lot easier to do that when you're paying your quarterback $3 million.
And they still have, I think, the most cap room in the league.
They do. They do still have they do still have the most cap room, unless the Colts
cut Carson
Wentz. The Colts cut Carson Wentz. The Colts move into the most cap space.
Oh, they got more than Jacksonville too?
Yeah, because Jack Doyle retired.
Oh no, I meant the Chargers. The Chargers have more cap room than Jacksonville.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I assumed that Jacksonville.
Who do we think are the top? What's the top of the market on free agents? So I would say probably right now you're talking probably what? Armstead, Chandler Jones.
Yeah, Chandler Jones. I still think very highly of Allen Robinson. I still think he is a very good receiver. That
Von Miller, Brandon Sheriff, the guard from Washington.
Yeah,
Allen Robinson,
Sheriff,
Chandler Jones, Tyrann Mathieu is a huge name. Stephon Gilmore is a big name.
The only thing Tyrann Mathieu is going to go.
J.C. Jackson,
Teron Armstead, and then you got Marcus May, the safety.
From the Jets,
big one. Yep. Ryan Jensen, the center from Tampa Bay, is another big one. And then you've still got. I mean, you've still got quite
Bobby
a few
Wagner
guys.
now.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner's
Bobby Wagner doesn't even have to wait for free agency.
Yeah, he can sign immediately.
He can sign whenever.
Where do you think he goes? I was trying to think about it.
I think New England.
You have to think he's going to a contender with the point he's at in his career. He's got to be
New England's going to take a look at him, and then there's probably a few other teams. I know Philadelphia. I know Philadelphia is really looking to upgrade their linebackers, so that could be an option as well.
Are they close enough to a championship though?
To me, in my mind, it would be shocking if he didn't end up with somebody of the likes of Kansas City, Buffalo, the Packers, the Rams, which I mean, I don't know how much his level for Seattle, how that would affect them. But like, if he doesn't go to one of like the top championship favorites,
Packers
really
I mean, Packers don't have the cap. I would say scheme wise, they would make sense, but they don't have the cap.
Well, they're trying to re-sign Devondre Campbell as well.
Yeah.
So, but in my mind, I would be surprised if he didn't go to one of the top contenders. That makes the most sense to him.
Yeah, I wonder if he would want to. I wonder if he'd be interested in reuniting back with Russell Wilson in Denver.
Yeah,
I mean, that could be an option.
I mean, that's the one area of that defense that's not elite is that linebacking core. So would be definitely wouldn't be a bad move.
Yeah,
but there are. I mean, running through those names, there are still some really interesting names on the free agent market, though.
For sure, man.
I think
you're not even getting into like the.
Yeah, that was just the top of the list.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think Chandler Jones, and also, I mean, we got to wait to see if Amari hits the market. But, I mean, I think if Amari does, I mean, I think you're looking at probably 3 truly elite players in the free agent market between him and Armstead and Chandler Jones. I think if you add any of those, you immediately have.
Well, I think Tyrann.
I don't really think of Mathieu as a free agent. I think he's going to go back to the Chiefs. I would be shocked if he signed elsewhere.
The positional value isn't there, but I think Brandon Sheriff is in the elite category too. But he plays guard. It's not not the premium position, but I think he's an elite player at his position.
Yeah, man, it still looks like to be a huge week next week with free agency.
When does the Tampa period kick off?
Sunday night.
Oh man, we're getting right into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, of course, we will be covering all the free agent news next week as well. And, any more news that's going to be happening this week, who knows what's going to happen between now and Friday. It's going to be crazy.
I would expect a couple more QB trades or signings. Now that the Rodgers domino is full, and you got to think if the Colts are making a trade for Wentz or Jimmy G's on the move, it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, well, it's never a dull day in the NFL. For sure. So this is where
days
it all
off.
starts. So yeah, that, I think we've covered everything. We covered the news. We covered Aaron Rodgers. We covered the franchise tags. Any closing arguments before we head on out of here? Nothing. Well, Drew, go ahead and take us home, brother.
All right. So first and foremost, Adam, appreciate you joining us. Thanks for hopping on and talking football with us for, the hour plus that we were on. And then, of course, like the 30-ish plus minutes where you and Landon got to duke it out before we hit record. That was a lot of fun for me personally to listen to. So we appreciate you hopping on with us. For those of you that are still listening that made it to this point, if you wouldn't mind heading over to YouTube, we're on there at the 3-Man Rush podcast. If you could like this video, comment down below, let us know what you agree, disagree with, all that type of good stuff. The guys that you're excited for as free agency comes and who you think your team should be going after. And then subscribe to the channel while you're there. Hit the little bell that pops up. We would appreciate the support. And then we're pretty much anywhere podcasts can be found as well. Apple, Google, Spotify, all that good stuff. So any support, we do appreciate. We're hoping to see the views continue to climb after the Colts podcast went bananas. So we appreciate that. Stick with us. I mean, we're really just getting started now. The NFL, we've still got an NFL Combine reaction show coming later this week, and then free agency is going to be rolling around, and then the NFL draft is going to happen. We got mock drafts coming. I mean, we're really just getting started. So, if you guys like year-round NFL content like we do, we're going to be here talking about it every week. So, but other than that, we appreciate the support. We appreciate the interaction. And just stick with us as we start to dive more into the NFL offseason with the combine, the draft, all that. We'll have, I imagine, mock draft 1.0 will probably be coming in the next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, it's coming up fast, man. Yeah, we should have it out here in, I would say, a couple of weeks for sure. And just remember, our mock draft was more accurate than ESPN's, Yahoo's, all the other ones. We got more picks right in the first round.
Yeah, first round purely. Yeah, but yeah, it was more accurate. So if you are in the business of listening to mock drafts and cussing out the people that don't send the person you want to your team, you can come do that for us too. We welcome it all to hop in the comments and do that. So be on the lookout for that. But other than that, we appreciate the listen and hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Yep. Thanks.